Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening from Muncie. I'm sorry I missed a couple of daily discourses because my wife was running unsuccessfully for town council, and we're here in Ramapo, and Tuesday was election day, Wednesday was aftermath day, so here we are on Thursday. So we're up to Chonen made Chodea Bina V'Haskel. That's according to Nusach Ashkenaz, of course. And there's interesting discussion here in the Iyun Tefillah, which is one of the Tikkun Tefillah, the Tikkun Tefillah, which is one of the commentaries in the Otzar Tefillah Siddur. He says that there are many nuschos in which it says Bina Dea V'Haskel, because that's based on a pasuk. Yo, U'itchem Dea V'Haskel. So Dea and V'Haskel, maybe. So Dea and Haskel go together as opposed to Dea Bina V'Haskel. And the we find a key parallel in the Birchos HaShachar. Chachamim kivli mada unvonim kivli Haskel. In other words, Mad and Haskel are together. And that is also a pasuk in Daniel, where it talks about Mad and Haskel. The Machzor Bitri has Bina Dea Chachma V'Haskel. And the in another nusach he says Bina Dea V'Haskel, and most of the Sfarim will ever say like us Dea Bina V'Haskel, and Dea Bina V'Haskel. And we find also, which I only noticed a couple of weeks ago, for the first time in my life, in Kel Adon, you would say it's Saram B'das B'Vina Uv'Haskel, right? Which actually is the parallel to the Nusach Ashkenaz version of Atah Chonen. I wonder how many of you realized this much earlier in life than myself. Then he brings down that it is from the Baal Latanya to say Chonen made Chachma Bina B'das, and some people say that this is a Nusach Ari as well. I just want to point out that you see how late, you're probably aware of this, but it's kedai to underline it, how late the Nusach of the Siddur was open to variation, to being tampered with. And the Hasidim came along, they changed various Nuschos based on what they perceived to be Kabbalistically correct, or sometimes they claimed that our Rizal daven that way, and therefore they were able to change Chachma Dea Bina V'Haskel to Chachma Bina B'Das. And this is also based on a pasuk in Shmos, where it says the Barmaleo so b'Chachma v'Svuna B'Das by B'Tzalel. It also says Hashem b'Chachma Yosar Eretz Koinen Shamayim B'Svuna. Again, I'm sorry. Hashem Yosar Eretz Koinen Shamayim B'Svuna B'Dato Tomos Divko Chachma Bina B'Das. Now he says, even though this is a beautiful svara, this is the Tikkun Tefillah speaking, it's miskabel aleif, you can understand it. Nevertheless, neither the Sfardim nor the Ashkenazim, evidently Yedotim Mizrach also have the Bina V'Haskel, changed on that basis the nusach of that was accepted from all previous generations. And then he wants to say in the Tikkun Tefillah, this is his chiddush. He says that even the Ari, if he actually did this, and the Baal Tanya did not make this nusach for the tzibur, but only for the individuals themselves, the Arizal and the Baal Tanya, based on their perception in their Ruach HaKodesh. And if the tzibur would have come to ask what was be appropriate for them, they would definitely concede not to change the nusach, which is mekubal midarei deiros. And and this is he says it's like the Goenim, Reb Nosson Adler, and the Baal Haflah, who were the Rabbeim of the Chasim Sofer, that they themselves daven nusach Ari, and the tzibur they left to daven nusach Ashkenaz in order not to change the minhag of their forefathers. And he says that and that's for Chulas Chasim Sofer or Chaim Siman Tesvav. He says Reb Levi Yitzchak Ber Ditchev, he himself davened based on Nusach Sfard, but the base Medrash, which is called by his name, they daven until today Nusach Ashkenaz, based on his directive not to change to that which was accepted. And the Gaon Hamakubal, I don't know who this person is, Rabban, it says actually, Bar Brachia, the author of the Ma'avaria book, it says, therefore a person should not change the coin of the tefillah, the formula of the tefillah, which he learned from his forefathers, because maybe the seder of davening that he learned in his youth from his parents and rabbeim is the one which is appropriate for the spark of his neshama, the nitzot of his neshama. He says that therefore a person should not change. It's interesting because many the Rav Ovadia safe holds that you can change. Always say Dotam Mizrach, and Lubavitcher should claim you can change always to Arizal. And Reb Moshe claims you can always change back to Ashkenaz. So there are many shittas about changing around stuff, and which goes back, I guess, to before the great tampering which occurred at the time that Nusach Sfar of the Hasidim was introduced, as opposed to Nusach Eidot HaMizrach, which is much, much older. But be that as it may, I once heard in my youth that the intent of Deah Bina Vaskel is the same as Chachma Bina V'das. Chachma Bina V'das, of course, means knowledge. Knowledge is raw data, fact, which you would understand with Bina, with understanding, with his bonus. And then together with the two, if you have both Chachma or Bina, then you have Das, you have wisdom. And there's Das Tachton, which is wisdom in most areas of human understanding, and Das Elyon, which is understanding, which is, like by the case of Betzalel, brings a person to a state of Ruach HaKodesh. A state similar to Nevuah, in that the wisdom is divine and holy wisdom. So Deah would also in this case be the Yediyah, the knowledge. Not the Das, the wisdom, but the Yediyah, the knowledge. Deah, Bina. Bina would also be understanding. That's like it is in the Chacham Bina V'das. The Haskel, instead of the word Das, which has already been used as Deah in a different form with a different meaning, and therefore could not be reused. Haskala means intelligence, right? The Haskala movement wanted to imbue intelligence, seichel toiv, into the Jews at the time. So the Haskala means intelligence, and that also has to do with this notion of wisdom. A muskal is something, a maskil is somebody who has a profound grasp of a subject, and it's based obviously in Deah and Bina. So whether you go with one nusach or the other nusach, the major nuschos of Deah Bina Vaskel and Chachma Bina V'das both are based in the notion of the triad of knowledge and then understanding, and then from them wisdom. Okay, so and we it's interesting we end the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Chonen hadas. So we began the bracha Chonen Yodam Das Lamei Enosh Bina. So that das with which we began the bracha, and of course the Chonen Madat or Secha also as well. So that das of Chonen Das could have two meanings if you learn according to the Baal HaTanya. So then Chonen Das means you give a person wisdom. But the problem is afterwards, Lamei Enosh Bina seems that it's out of order, because wisdom only comes with the Chachma and Bina together. So I think the Pashup shot in the beginning of the bracha is Tochnei L'Adam Das means, as I think I mentioned previously, is the Chachma, right? The Das as Deah here means Chachma. Melamed L'Enosh Bina, and you teach a person Bina, teach a person understanding. Knowledge is bestowed. Bina must be taught, because knowledge is given facts, and Bina is understanding, requires special skill. Then we finish the Choneinu Meidcha, grant us, and the truth is, the saying to Baruch, you know what? It's true, you're Melamed L'Enosh Bina, but we want it as a Chanina. We want a special Siyata D'Shmaya here. So, Deah Bina Vaskel, that not only should we have knowledge and understanding, but that we should also be able to get to the ultimate wisdom / intelligence. Baruch atah Hashem Chonen hadas can then goes back evidently to the beginning and saying the primary thing which HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows upon us is the das, because the das is the initial approach to gaining whether it's das at the end or a scale at the end, we have to be granted some chen knowledge and understand knowledge of Torah. In other words, Akash Baruch Hu asking him to give us, it's kind of a manas chinam, the capacity to know Torah. And this goes back to Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. It says he was lomedim shakech. He for 40 days he learned and forgot, until finally the 40th day it was given to him matana. And there's a special school in Torah, evidently, that the idea of Torah is separate from the is separate from the normal acquisition of knowledge process, has its own process of acquisition, which is Amal HaTorah, the toil of a Torah, and the eventual Chanina, the bestowal of Torah after a person toils. Now, the truth is, this happens very often when a person learns a Gemara. You can stare at the Gemara and find it unintelligible, or the Rishon or Achron or whatever it is, and you stare and you stare and you stare and you think and you think and you think, and this and then this and then this and then, all of a sudden comes in a flash. A flash understanding. Chonen hadas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows this das upon us. In other words, that if the Yigiyah in Torah and the Amal in Torah are the precondition to then get Torah as a matana, a midbar matana. He gets the Torah matana. Somebody who toils gets the Torah then afterwards as a gift, and we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bestow that upon us. The HCA brings down that you bestowed. He says, why is it Chonen hadas continuous? So he says, wants to say that you bestow Chachamim in older generations. They are bina v'askel, like Yosef's generation, Moshe's generation, Shlomo's generation, etc. So this was, you were Chonen hadas in the past, be Chonen hadas to us today. It's interesting, brings down from the Yalkut Shimoni in the name of Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, where when the Malachim saw, the Yonim it says here, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Shem on first Moshe Rabbeinu, all of a sudden, the Malachim opened and said, Chonen Hadas. Hashem gave bestowed Das. So that's interesting because Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem. In other words, Chachma, really, the beginning of Chachma, the height of Chachma is Yiras Hashem. And Das, the ultimate Das is Hashem, to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And all other Das, all Das in the world, whether it's Das of Torah, Das of Chachma, all is Mechuvan, all is directed towards that Yediyas Hashem. So Ratochane Lodam Das means Haskel V'yodoa Osi, to know me, says we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We want to be Das es Hashem Lokecha. And this idea of Yediyah is not just an idea of intellectual knowledge, because in Bereshis, Vayeda Adam Eschava Ishto refers also to an intimacy of a very high order. So the knowledge which we have ultimately in Bereshis Chachma Yiras Hashem should also bring us to Das es Hashem, to an intimate relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this, of course, is the machlekes between the Baal Shem Tov and the Chaim, whether you learn for the purpose of Dveikos or whether Dveikos is separate from learning. But the Das es Hashem means it's not just emotional but also intellectual, and therefore, because you don't know, you can't call it real Das unless there's learning involved. So Das has many ramifications and understandings. The Das, but the main thing is you gave the Rishonim Das, you gave Moshe Rabbeinu the Das of the Shem Havaya, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should also be zocheh to that as well. And even though it's like a minute early, but we will stop here for this evening. Have a good night.